Hey people, it's Sunday, it's Memorial Day weekend. It's the 29th. Tomorrow is Memorial Day. So it's a holiday weekend and I hope everyone's having a good time. Hope the weather isn't being too bad for you where you're at. As if you watch my videos, you know that my last video was about picking up about 130 albums for 7 cents a piece. Let me show you some more of what I got. I've had some time to listen to some more of the stuff. The last video is part 1, so if you haven't watched that one, watch it and then come back to this one. The Imaginarium, a consignment thrift store that had to close one of its, actually it's the last day is today. I'm debating whether or not to go back one more time. Of course there should be absolutely nothing left today, and yet even when I think after 2 trips I did actually leave some things that I already had, and then when I think about it, it's like, well, I picked up those extra Renaissance. Why didn't I get that extra Jan Ackerman? There was a Patrick Moraz there, which I've had for years, and another one of those albums that you always see in the dollar bins. Somehow it just lost its appeal immediately, but that was there. I don't know, I might not. But here's some more of the records that I got. I've taken the time in between working on this soundtrack and some other things to do some listening. Here's one where the cover was beat. Didn't, you know, I don't want to take records when the covers would beat like this, you know. But it was the opportunity to hear the record. The New Birth. This is maybe like their 5th or 6th album, Blind Baby. And I think they're from the South, maybe Atlanta, possibly. The band The Nightlighters, who had a big hit called KG on Crossover Radio, came out of this collective, and that back cover, in my opinion, should have been the front cover. Isn't that cool? This band is quite good, and what I like about New Birth was that they did incorporate other aspects of music besides just funk and R&B, trying to become, like the name, The New Birth, a new sound that could cross over. It did kind of, but the blackness always came through. This is really good. Blind Baby, very good album. One of the better records of the bunch musically that I got, actually. This is one of the best musically. Here's one I got where I have the other albums. The Section, Fork It Over, their last studio album. The Section was these guys, Russ Kunkel, Lee Sklar, and Craig Dorridge, who were from the West Coast, or became best known on the West Coast as studio musicians and playing with people like Linda Ronstadt. Very accomplished, and they go across genres. So there's this element of country all the way to jazz and prog on these albums. Forward Motion, the one before this, is my favorite. It's the most progressive. But for 7 cents, I'll complete my section. Once again, that was part of the appeal, is the fact that I'm only paying 7 cents. You know, it's like it's almost being given to me. So yeah, I can listen. Here's one I forgot that they had put it out. I have the other albums because I like Chase. I got to see them in high school. Chase, Pure Music. The band most of the band was killed in a plane accident. Unfortunately, cut their career short. But Bill Chase, the leader, trumpet player, in the Maynard Ferguson mode, a real hard blowing son of a gun. They had a big hit called Get It On in the Morning Now, and this their 3rd album. They're trying things, you know. It's like it's got the big horn brassy thing, but they're also messing with some different ideas. Adventurous. Not bad, actually. Not bad. Okay. Here's one I had always wanted to. I have their other album, their 2nd album, Ramatam or Ramatam, however you say it. The band first came to attention because Mitch Mitchell of the Jimi Hendrix Experience was the drummer, and Mike Pinera from Iron Butterfly and Blues Image also. So the idea when it was first being touted by the record press was that this was a potential supergroup. Also touting the talents of this female guitarist, April Lawton. This is a good album, and it does musically fit somewhere in between Iron Butterfly and Blues Image. Everything from hard rock to blues to progressive is in here, and the guitar playing is great. Now, something I just picked up on, which I really didn't pay any attention to back in the day, was that apparently April Lawton was actually a man. He's been dead for a while. He was a transgender. Interesting, huh? Pretty good album. I've had the other album for a long time. In April Came Whatever. Good album. I've always liked it. Here's one where when I bought it, it's like, well, this is the sort of thing that I leave because it's like, these covers are just so terrible. They're cheesy. It's like, the people are making good music. Why couldn't they put on a good cover? Wind Machine, featuring Steve Mespley. Now, when I grabbed this, I didn't make the connection. For years, I've had a Wind Machine CD that I really like. It's in the other room where I'd show it. It's one that I got either as a promo or really cheaply, and it's like considered new age music, all instrumental, but some very wonderful passages. So this is where they started, and it's got that cheesy coffee table music aspect to it, and then there's one or two tracks where they just let you hear that they're real musicians and they can make real music. Wind Machine, once again, a very nondescript cover for some good music. This was a pleasant find for 7 cents. Dose. This is cool. Mike Watt and Kira Roessler. Mike Watt from the Minutemen, Iggy, the Stooges, you name it, okay? Firehose. Kira Roessler, she was in Black Flag. One of the times I saw Black Flag, she was in the band. So I met both of these guys at different times, Mike Watt and Kira. And they were a couple for a while. They got married. So the primary music on this album is 2 basses. And this is really good. This is way better than I thought it would be. I like that cover too, the concept. This is really good. Dose, numero dos. Mike Watt and Kira Roessler. So this is one of those where it's like, okay, yeah, I got something decent. I got some good music. You know, I got some clunkers, but this is one where it's like, wow. Score. Now, this next one, geez, I love giving my commentary. Here's one, would never buy it. And once I played it, it's like, yeah, this is why. Magnum, Kingdom of Madness. This is the type of progressive, quote unquote, in quotes, progressive rock band that I cannot stand. It's made for an audience that definitely is not me. It's like it's a cartoon version of progressive rock for children. Now, if you're a fan of, and it's a promo, if you're a fan of the band, don't be insulted. Just understand. Look who's talking. It's not, obviously I love progressive rock, but this is a caricature. This is like it's like a pastiche, you know, and it's all watered down and woodly synthesizers and high vocals, like a cartoon. The guys can play, but this album is absolutely tasteless. Magnum. And I went and looked them up. They got a bunch of albums, so apparently they have their own audience, but I'm not one of them, okay? This, in my opinion, is the type of progressive rock album that has given progressive rock a bad name. Okay, here's one where The Matrix is the name of the band, Matrix. I had bought one of their other albums years ago, liking the cover, got the album home. It's instrumental, kind of jazzy, but it never took. I remember giving it away to, I think, David Horowitz, Sequoia Flame down in Florida. He really likes it. So when I found this for 7 cents, I said, okay, I get another chance. I like this one much better. It is instrumental, jazzy music. What's interesting is that there is no fire. And so it's like a couple of the tunes are interesting, but they don't really go anywhere. So I can imagine if I saw this music live and enjoyed it live, this would be a nice, memento for what I saw. But hearing it on record, it's like it never really takes off. So this is one that I was hopeful for. And once again, like the other Matrix album, it's just okay, It's like, where's the fire? It's like it never goes to the next level, to my experience. So the first time I went there, I saw this ECM album. It was the only one left. And it was like there was some sort of liquid, dried, nasty liquid on it. And so I left it. The second time the second time I went back, I looked at it and I said, I can probably get that off. I don't know what it is. And I did. So I added an ECM. I love the label ECM. And I did not have this one. So I have another ECM to my collection. Gary Peacock, Voice from the Past, with Jan Garbarek, Thomas Stanko, and Jack DeJohnette. Now, as ECMs go, this is not one where they all sound the same. And this one is kind of, turgid. This one's kind of a downer feeling. I've played this all the way through because I love ECM records, and so I always absorb them. And this one is, not sure what's going on here, but the mood is kind of gray, interesting. But happy to find an ECM for less than a dime. Hell yes. Another album that I would see over the years and just kind of knew, well, I'm not interested in this. Hedge and Donna. All the Friendly Colors. And sure enough, finally getting to hear it, I get to hear, well, yeah, this isn't for me. It's a couple, interracial. This was made back in the end of the 60s or early 70s when it was still a novelty. There's this hippie vibe to it. So a big part of what's going on here is the interaction between the couple while they sing and they kind of talk to each other. And it's kind of intimate. But it's also boring. They do like I Shall Be Released, and Any Day Now. Yeah, they call it Any Day Now. And so as a listening experience, this is just really, it's not, it's not what I'm with. You know what I'm saying? I'm glad to hear it, though. Showed you that one. Now here's an artist, too, whose records lost value almost like immediately. He had a big hit, Gregg Ten Bands, with Jeopardy. And so it's like the records are kind of rock and rolly, good timey, sort of. If you bother to listen to the lyrics, some of the lyrics are sort of clever. But other than that, it's kind of like not very distinct beyond just being a good band that maybe you'd see in a bar. So I always see these records and have never interested in them. So, but since they were there and they're in good shape, so I got them. So I got 3. Conspiracy with Jeopardy on it. Glass House Rock by Gregg Ten Bands. And Gregg Rock and Roll Band. And once again, it's good time sort of party bar music. Stuff I would never buy in a million years. And I played Jeopardy and dropped the needle on each one of these just so I could see, and it's just the same thing each album. And I can see why they're in the dollar bins because the party is over as quick as it starts. You know what I'm saying? It's just bar music. It's really, there's not really much here to attach meaning to beyond just a good time and maybe meeting somebody. Just my critique. Here's another one that was absolutely trashed, and I could tell that it's probably terrible, but I always have seen it, so I said, okay, I'll grab it. Lou Janice, hors d'oeuvres. The picture alone tells you this is going to be terrible, okay? And it is. This is terrible. This is so tasteless. It's kind of almost disco-y. Look at that terrible cover. And again, it was like completely reamed out. I had to completely tape it shut. It's like it's been looked at a million times or something. So this horrible cover has captured the attention of a lot of people. But it's just so tasteless. And the music is too. It's god-awful. But I wanted to be able to hear it for myself. Here's a 12-inch single I bought that was actually kind of trashed, but I cleaned it up. It's crackly, but I only wanted to play it once. It's basically Duran Duran, Arcadia, 12-inch single, The Promise. The intros to the songs are interesting because what they were doing was ripping off David Sylvian in Japan. That's where they got a lot of their flavor from, is trying to rip off the band Japan. And it's real evident here where they're trying to get that oriental kind of sound. But it's okay. Like I said, I knew most of these records were records that I had no interest in. So I told you that in the last video, when I went into this place and the lady told me that its $5 bag sale were closing and that the records had been moved into the basement, and I got down there and I saw this other collector, Mike Garber, who is an astute collector, and he makes a living off of collecting. So we get to talking, and he pulled this one up because it was like just too, he said he was looking for just anything for trade that was in perfect shape, and he had a big pile of stuff he had found. I didn't even want to look at it because I'd have been jealous, but he pulled this because he wasn't going to take it, and I was happy that he let me have it because the cover's destroyed, but this is a cool record. SSRC, Traveler's Tale, Midwest band with the Quackenbush Brothers. I have another one of their albums. This is really good, and I love this cover, and these records are collectible. The SSRC albums are a bit collectible. So I was really happy to get this, even though it's beat. It plays, it's crackly, but the record plays pretty decent. And it starts off great. I love the way this album starts. The very first opening is like, okay, we're in for a ride here. It's not consistent all the way through, but this is one of those kind of albums, and this is the kind of thing I want still to find, is that old stuff where people were trying things and pushing boundaries. Traveler's Tale by SRC. Real cool. Paul Horn, another artist of great integrity, whose records are not valued. It's like, I said it the last video, and I'll say it again because I see it consistently. Cheapness is more popular than substance. And we know that well, that mediocrity is for the masses. You have to dumb things down so that more people can get it. That's not an insult to people, it's just the truth. So consequently, Paul Horn, who in his lifetime made transcendent music that can enrich your life and make things better, you always find his records for nothing because apparently people didn't listen to it, And so I got this, Traveler by Paul Horn. Played this all the way through. This is wonderful. This one in particular has a real drone thing going on the first side. Very Eastern. Wonderful. Paul Horn, Traveler. If you're interested in good music, other than rock and roll, and you see Paul Horn and Winter Consort albums for $1 and $2, you need to get these records. I've got several. This is wonderful, enriching music. It just says a lot about society, about, in my opinion, how our values are not what we say they are. We say one thing, and look at how things really are. Okay. Who's the Liar? Two more. Artful Dodger. I already had a promo single from this band for years, so I knew what I was getting, which is American pop. But if you notice this album cover, this is on Columbia Records, CBS, one of the majors forever, white label promo. The way that they would market things, I noticed that even as a kid, is like you'd see things and you could tell by the art that, okay, this is pop, but. So like for this album, for some reason you look at the cover and you can see it's just pop, but there's just a little extra tastefulness to like the image, and that's what you get in the music. It's pop, but it's super well crafted, and there's several songs where it's like Gershwin or something wrote it, where these guys are real musicians, have talent, probably are capable of making music far beyond this pop, but this is how they were trying to make their bread and butter. When I looked at the album, I didn't recognize any names of people who went on to something beyond this. So I don't know why this didn't happen, but this is a very good pop album, Artful Dodger. Last thing I'll show is I've never bought John Clemmer records. And I know that some people forever have been John Clemmer fans, but when I first heard John Clemmer, I was not impressed. And every time I would hear John Clemmer, I was not impressed. So, for 7 cents, I went ahead and bought 2 John Clemmer albums, 7 cents a piece. Intensity is the first one. He's always been on good labels. He's on Impulse, the label that brought us John Coltrane, among others. And now that I have these records at home to listen to, I can tell you what it is that I don't like about John Clemmer records. He, as a saxophone player, is good and has depth. His groups, he's played with mediocre groups. The group on this album, the pianist, really, really takes away from my enjoyment of this record because he can't keep up. If you have this record, listen to it again and tell me what you think. That's just my opinion. The piano player, his comping on most of the tracks is substandard. When you hear John Clemmer blow, it's like, well, I'd love to hear McCoy Tyner or somebody like that behind this. So, that's why. And I'm able to hear it. That sure enough, yeah. Boy, he needed a better band backing him up. Okay. Man, just tell you about a few records takes so long.